All right. Okay. Perfect. Last time I was talking and I wasn't even live on one of my platforms. So, what's up, y'all? Clearly, I did not plan to go live today. This was not a part of the plan. However, who cares? Like, the plan gets to be the plan whenever it's supposed to be the plan. And when the message needs to get out, it will get out. So, that is what we are chatting quickly about today, right before my lunchtime and next meeting. Decision or declaration. I'm in the process of writing my second book titled The Enemy Is You. And in this, I am detailing the stories around my life, my transformation personally, and how that has attributed to a lot of the success that I've experienced, and how it's also planting the seeds for the success and things that I'm working towards at this current moment. And I have this methodology, and I'll be honest with you, it didn't start off as a methodology because I had no idea of the purpose of that, what it meant, any of that. It turned into a methodology when a mentor of mine asked us to determine all, she calls them visible victories. So, determine all the visible victories that you had in life. And she actually took this from a speaking coach or exercise that she had, where the coach guided her through these note cards, and each one had a particular victory in her life, and she painted, the story of how she was able to achieve those things. And through that exercise and working with her speaking and her talk that she was doing, she found that the same thing could be applied to her work as it relates to coaching, creating a methodology, and those things. So she introduced it to us. So as I was going through the exercise and looking at the things that I'm proud of, that I've accomplished in life, that I have challenged the status quo on, which is like poster child for me, this theme occurred. So first it started off as a theme, like, okay, how did I achieve each of these things? I was in it and just doing my thing, but I didn't recognize that there was a deeper meaning, or there was a deeper process. And I talked about this on a video that I recently did, talking about the power of mastering yourself and how that was introduced to me as a concept that I discounted. So through uncovering this process, I started to see there is a method, like there is a secret sauce here. There is a step-by-step process that I was following unconsciously, but that was my own design, my own success code that I believe that was given to me by God when he designed me on how to create these things. And so as I was fleshing it out, when you're thinking about sharing this, it doesn't necessarily have to be teaching or coaching, but even as I'm having this conversation with you, I can't just tell you a bunch of stories, right? If I'm meant to be transformational, which my declaration in this season is that I'm a sought after speaker and thought leader. And so in order to do that, I can't just give you stories. I have to be able to share with you how I did it, what the steps and processes are in a simplified manner so that you can be transformed by doing what worked for me. And not only just copying my process, because that is something that is coming up for me that I'm kind of working through now, is that it's so important to share methodologies and things like this, but really to get to the root of how you can untap your own way of doing things and perhaps apply some of these principles to your life to find your own secret sauce. Anyway, so in going back and understanding what that process looked like in a few iterations, I boiled it down to this method I call 3D. And, of course, it has to be something memorable, it has to be something very specific, and it has to really detail the process as it is. And so the 3D method was, I wouldn't say born because it was already created, it was named, right? So this process had always been with me my entire life. However, it had been given a name in that moment. And 3D stands for three things: declare, discover, and do. I've actually talked about this in person at a couple of talks that I've given for a corporate group as well as a group of young ladies in a nonprofit. And I always have them repeat this back to me. And so if you're listening, go ahead and type it in the chat: declare, discover, do. Now, essentially, these are the steps that I took to achieve goals that challenge the status quo. Declaration, and what we're going to talk about today, is the first part. So the power of decision. I didn't know this then, but as I've gone along in this work and in this process of development, I've learned that decision means to cut off other options. And when I learned that, it really sat with me because it made me remember the moments in my life where I decided this was it and there was nothing else. And I created it because there was no other option. I'm going to the school, I'm getting this car, I'm buying this house, and there was no other things in my mind. There was no other outcomes. It was only that thing. So the declare portion of my methodology is so important because it is like the anchor. It is the grounding. It is the launching pad in order to move forward towards the thing. But it's also what you can come back to when life or people or circumstances or what I call your internal enemies, which I've read about in the book, when those things come up and try to take you off course, I'm able to pull myself back down to the declaration I made. And a little bit of the secret sauce on the declaration is to have an experience with it. So, like, for example, when I bought what is this season of my dream home, I walked into the house and I knew the feeling that I felt walking in, right? I knew it was mine. I touched everything. Like, it was just this experience that even when things would happen with the financing or things would happen with the builder or whatever the case may be, I was like, no, I know that feeling that I had when I walked into the house. So my decision, my declaration was that this house is mine. So it is mine. So whatever y'all got going on or whatever is happening, oh, if you don't do this by this date, this could happen. Okay. It's still going to be mine. And it was. It literally, in the house experience, the house literally sat here until everything was lined up for us to move forward into it because I knew that it was ours. Point blank, period. Anyway, so that's just one example. But the declaration is like that stake in the ground. It's that flag that says, this is where I'm positioned and I'm unmovable. You cannot move me this way. You can't shake me this way. This wind, this storm, whatever the case may be, not going to take me out. Okay. So that power allowed me to go through the seasons and the times where it was difficult, where it seemed like there was no hope, where it seemed like, maybe I should go for something that's a little bit more safer. Maybe I should just sit here a little bit longer, even though I know my soul is calling me towards this thing. Maybe since everybody else is saying or doing this particular thing, am I crazy? Should I just go along with the flow? Should I do the things that most people are doing? Why is it that I cannot settle for average the way that other people have? Because you're not made to be average. The power of decision is the confirmation that you aren't made to be average, and you're willing to go through the fire to make that a truth in your life. So I know I talk about corporate contracts and all of the things, but this part is like the fuel to that. Like, is the reason why, is the thing that's important to drive any way, any dream, any decision forward. So many of you, my potential clients, you're my ideal client, you're my person, you've already created a lot of success. You have a team, you have these processes in place, but perhaps the vision now is to create more intention around it. Now the decision is, we are a premier organization that serves tech giants in this particular space. Maybe it's making a name and a claim that your organization is not just the best premier training organization for entrepreneurs, but it's also for Fortune 500 companies. And what does that look like? What does that bold declaration in this season bring to your organization? You may not know the way. You may not know the path. You may have gotten things here and there, and referrals have been great to you. I hear that from a lot of people who are clients of mine or ideal clients of mine, is that the referrals are great, but you want to be more intentional, that you want to dominate in this corporate space, that you want to be seen as a corporate trusted partner that doesn't just get contracts here and there, but you have a solid base of companies that trust you to come in and deliver like you know that you can. So with that being said, and with that type of energy and that decision, it means all other options have fallen away. And now the way to do it rises and appears, which is another video that I'm going to do next time and talk about the second D, which is discover, looking for all the opportunities and seizing all of the opportunities and resources that are going to begin to come to your way so that you can make this declaration, this decision, a reality in your life. So, if this spoke something to you, I want you to do something powerful. I share my declaration with y'all. I am a sought after speaker that and thought leader and author that changes and transforms lives through my stories, my lessons, and my achievements. Period. That's who I am. Fortune 500 companies sought me out, events seek me out, podcasts seek me out, book deals seek me out to write about my thoughts and experiences around how I created a life of fulfillment through challenging the status quo. That's my declaration. So what is your declaration right now? In this season, at this time, for this moment, for this purpose, what are you powerfully declaring and making a decision to have, be, act right now? All right. I look forward to seeing it in the comments, and I'll talk to y'all soon.